When you read today's episode title, you probably fell into one of two camps. Either you are the mom that is saying, yes, this is definitely what I need to listen to. We are facing this current situation. I have a homeschooler that says they want to go to public school and I'm not sure what to do. Or maybe on the opposite end of the spectrum, you're saying, oh, my kids love homeschool so much they would never, ever ask to go to public school. Well, in that second response to this episode title, I just want to give you a little bit of a fair warning. Watch what you say, because the Lord might humble you. You might find that you have a child at some point that is asking to go to public school. So hopefully today's episode will fill you up with some good information so you know how to walk through that if it happens. I feel like it happens in every family at some point. And if you are faced with this today, I just want you to find comfort in the fact that most of us pretty much have gone through this. And so I want to give you a bunch of information so you can make a really good decision that is best for your child. Welcome to Little by Little Homeschool Podcast, where you'll learn tips and strategies that will empower you to home educate your children. I'm Leigh Nguyen, a homeschool mom of over 12 years, which includes 2 graduates. When I started homeschooling, I was pretty much on my own and was desperate for encouragement and help. My mission is to be a source of encouragement and help to you. Whether you are just beginning your homeschool journey or you're deep into the homeschool lifestyle, Little by Little Homeschool wants to help you stay the course, because all the time you are investing into your children is completely worth it. If you're ready to take your homeschool to new levels, keep listening. So, you've decided to homeschool. Whether you're brand new at this, you've been in it for a little bit, or you've been at it for quite a while. And that moment comes when you have a homeschooler who says they want to go to public school. Now, there's so many different scenarios that can run through with this. There's so many different nuances to it. There's so many different caveats I have to give. And so I don't know your personal situation. I don't know if this is a child that has gone to public school and therefore wants to go back. I don't know if they went for a long time or just a couple of years. I don't know if this is a middle schooler, a high schooler, and I don't know if maybe they never went to public school, but they have friends that are in school, or they just have this ideal of school and this is what they want to do, or maybe just things just don't feel great at home. I don't know all of the dynamics that you are facing, but I hope that today's episode, you are able to fit your story into it and then see how it can help you and your children, your family right now to make a good decision. So what to do when your homeschooler wants to go to public school? Like I mentioned earlier, we most likely will all encounter this question, this concern, this issue. And if you have not yet, you probably will. I have myself to varying degrees. All of our kids just have different personalities. And so it might only be, you might have 20 kids and only one of them ever asks for a couple of weeks and you work through this and you get to the other side. Or you might have 1 or 2 children and they both ask. There's just a lot of different factors that come into play. Let's jump into the meat of today's episode. But I want to start off with giving you a disclaimer. Here's my disclaimer. I am shamelessly pro-homeschool for pretty much every circumstance, as long as there isn't abuse, neglect, something extreme that is going on within the home and it's best for the child not to be at home. Most likely that is not even a situation that's even remotely close to what you're dealing with. So most likely for you, I am shamelessly pro-homeschool. I think that it can work for every and any family, no matter how many children, no matter the dynamics, no matter your family culture, no matter where you live, no matter your financial situation. If you have a desire to homeschool, you can do it. And if I'm given the choice between homeschooling a child or putting them in public school, I'm always going to choose the homeschool. So just know, because we all have opinions and what we say is going to be based upon that and how we view it. Just like our worldview, it's going to come from that. Part of my worldview, I don't know if this is correct or not, but is that parents should be educating children. So let me just start with that disclaimer. And I want to try to hopefully kind of walk the middle road here as far as giving you information so that you can figure out how you can make this work. Hopefully, really honestly, that's my goal, is that you can continue to make homeschool work for your family. So here are two things I want you to consider when you have a child that is asking to go to public school. Again, I don't know what age this child is at, but this can apply no matter their age. But the first thing to consider is that their frontal lobe, where they can make some good decisions in their brain, is not fully developed yet. Now, I guess research is showing mid-20s. Now they're saying maybe late 20s. Although I did read about some research that said that it can develop earlier and younger. Again, this is not even until the 20s, though. So maybe average might be 25, but you just know that there's younger and then there's older. And a frontal lobe can develop better, faster, or be more complete, fully developed if they are faced with making decisions, big decisions, and they have to use that part of their brain so it can be developed sooner. I joke and say that my 20-year-old, his frontal lobe might be fully developed with some things, maybe not all with everything, but just with running his business. He has been forced to make a lot of decisions. His brain has been forced to work a lot. So just know that no matter what the age of your child is, their decision-making skills is not fully developed. The second thing to consider is they probably just want to be part of a public school, but like part of it, not all of it. Most likely, they're thinking, oh, I want to be able to see my friends, or I want to be able to do sports, or I want to take some certain classes, or I just want to go to school because it looks cool in the movies or on shows or in the books that I'm reading. Or maybe they're like, I want to do the art program. I want to participate in some of the dramatic plays. I want to participate in certain things. Most likely, they don't want to do all of it. They just want to do part of it. Now, that second part is going to tie into what I'm going to talk about towards the end. Here's the thing, though. Your job is to get to the heart of the matter. And I'm not saying to you, don't let your children go to public school, because even though I'm shamelessly pro homeschool, I have heard of parents that have decided to let their kids go. And after a few days, their kids are like, I don't want to do that anymore. It's not what I thought it was going to be, because they have wanted part of what school has to offer. They didn't necessarily want all of it. They wanted to maybe take some of the music classes, sing in the chorus. They want to be in the plays. They want to go to the art classes. But they also have to do the math and the science, and they have to do the gym class, and they have to only eat lunch at a certain time that they're allowed to eat lunch, and there's no time to go outside. And they start to realize, oh, I really only wanted just part of it. So I have heard of parents who have let their kids go to school, and the kids after a day or two are like, I don't want to do that anymore. And guess what? You can do that. You can let them go, and maybe in hopes, or maybe you know your child enough, they're going to last a day or two, and then they're going to be like, I don't want to do this anymore. You have the right as the parent, no matter which state you live in. Most of my audience is in the United States. No matter which state you live in, whether there are strict homeschool regulations or not, it is your child. You have the right to put them into school. You have the right to pull them out of school at any time. Nobody can say anything to you about it. There might be paperwork. There might be things process that you have to go through. Just do that process. But legally, they are your children. You are responsible. You get to decide. So when it comes to putting them in school, you can decide, okay, I'm going to let them go ahead for a couple of days, and then I can pull them back out, and you just have some paperwork to do. It might be a little bit of a headache, but I have heard of it working for some parents. And you know your kids. And you might have some kids you're like, I know within a day or two, they were like, nope. But then you might have a kid you're like, they might put up with the other stuff because they say it's worth it. I don't care that I have to come home and do 2-3 hours worth of homework because I get to participate in X, whatever it is that they want, or I get to spend the day with my friends. So some kids might not believe you if you tell them about school and say, oh no, you're not really going to enjoy it because you have to ask permission to use the bathroom. You can only eat lunch at a certain time. You have to sit in the classroom and you have to be quiet, and you're going to get in trouble if you're talking too much. And some kids, they might not believe you until they have had to experience it. And then they might say, oh, I guess mom and dad were right. Some of your kids might be like, oh, really? Is that what it's like? I have no desire to do that. And they're just going to take your word for it. Now, I'm absolutely not saying lie to them. Tell them the truth. Tell them what they are getting into. And so, again, this is going to depend. It could be a first grader, and so their days are maybe not as strict and they have some time for recess and time to play. But then they could be in high school and be like, no, you really don't even get a chance to go outside at all. So here's a question I want you to ask yourself. If you have a child that is asking to go to public school, ask yourself if you are prepared to change your family's culture and to change your days, your schedule to the public school schedule. That's a tough question, right? Because even if you have one child that you put into school and you're homeschooling the others, your days, your year is going to revolve around the school calendar. That doesn't mean you can't still take some breaks and go on vacation or something, but for that one child, you are going to have to maybe get homework. You're going to have to ask permission for them to be able to take that week off of vacation. Whereas if you're homeschooling other children, you don't have to ask anybody. You just decided that's when you're going to take a break and to go on vacation. Or your kid might be out a lot because they got sick and then they get to the point of a vacation and the school says, I'm sorry, but if they miss any more days, they're going to be marked as truant and you can't go on vacation. I know that sounds a little bit extreme, but just ask yourself, are you prepared to adjust the way your family is living and to have to revolve your life around the school schedule for this? I think it's a pretty good question to ask. For me, when we started off with school, I was like, okay, whatever. This is most of my entire life had revolved around a school calendar. So what's the big deal? My kids are in school. That's just what we're going to do. We can have the summers off and we can have breaks when the school says we can have breaks. We can have a snow day when they say we can have a snow day. But then once I started homeschooling, I caught the homeschool bug and I was like, nobody is telling me what we are doing, how we are educating, and that my kids can't go outside and they can't use the bathroom when they want to and they can't talk to people. And there's just so many things. I'm like, no, we are going to direct our own days. Obviously, the Lord directs our years and he is in charge of it all. And he's the one that blesses us with a new day every day. But overall, you get to decide, what does your schedule look like? You could do homeschool more year round if that works for you. And so I'm just wondering, well, I'm telling you to wonder, are you prepared to make that adjustment? So if you say, yes, I will put my child into public school, they're asking, they're begging, they've written me a big long dissertation, just kidding. But it's something that we feel that they should do. I want you to make sure that it is for the right reasons. How do you figure out what those right reasons are? Have conversations with that child. Find out, why do they really want to go to public school? And when you find out those reasons, ask yourself, is there some way that I can meet those requests, those needs, maybe just that feeling they're missing something? Can I meet that through homeschooling? Maybe they say, you know what? I'm just kind of lonely and I'd like to be around more kids my age. Maybe you have one child, or maybe there's a big gap in ages, or maybe they just have some friends from other places and they would just like to see them more. Well, then make sure that you make some connections with other homeschoolers, with other families, or these can be the kids from public school, but they get together with them after school, on the weekends. Whatever it is that they are thinking that they are missing out on, ask the questions. Don't go into this conversation with any type of defensiveness. Just sit down and ask, why do you want to go to public school? Tell me the reasons and ask questions and just listen. Make mental notes of what they're saying and then see if you are able to meet those requests with a homeschool lifestyle. When you're making this decision, I want to encourage you to look at the overall grand scheme when you're deciding. Kids, they don't always like our decisions that we make for them as parents, but the goal needs to be that you are making the best decision for them. And hopefully our prayer is that someday they will understand and they will appreciate the decisions that you made for them. We don't always know, and they might not always appreciate it. But I think if we are homeschooling with intention, we are homeschooling with a good heart, we are homeschooling in order to share and the love of Jesus and to glorify God and to focus on our relationships together, relationships with other people. And I think if our heart and our intentions and the focus is right, at the end of homeschooling, our kids are going to say, my parents did a good job. But I think when those things are out of whack, those are the kids that are or the young adults that are on Reddit forums complaining about their parents and that kind of stuff. But I think that if we have that relationship, and I really do see that even in my own kids, the fact that we spend so much time together that they might not have always liked our decisions and not liked them at the time, but through that time together, they saw that my heart was really in the right place and my desire was in the right place. And maybe I didn't make the best decisions. Maybe my husband and I didn't always choose the right thing, but our heart was in the right place. And I think that a lot of grace can come into that. But look at the overall grand scheme when you're deciding. Don't just focus on right now how this child is feeling, how this child is not happy. Obviously, the Bible doesn't promise us happiness, but go back to that, asking them why they want to go to school and see if you can meet those needs. Maybe they want to get involved. We're going to go back to my example I keep using of maybe being in a play, a school play. Well, you might live in a state where that's not an option. There are some states where you can participate in school activities, and you might decide to do that. Or in your state, you might have that legal ability to participate in school activities, but you might say, I really don't want to participate in school activities. I'm going to go find some type of drama club or something somewhere else. And it might require a bit more effort on your part, but it might be completely worth it to put a little bit more effort in. It might be that you have to drive a little bit further to get to places. There were times our kids really wanted things and participate in things or needed more time with friends or whatever it was, and we would just put that effort in during that season, knowing that it's just a season in life, but keep the big perspective in mind when you are making this decision. And hopefully someday they'll look back and they will appreciate it. The bottom line, though, when it comes to you having a child that's asking to go to public school, ultimately and legally, you as the parents get to choose. Just like we should homeschool an individual child, we should make this decision individually. You know your child way better, much better than I know your child that I don't even know at all. So you have to make a decision based upon that child. Just like you educate each child differently at homeschool, just like you disciple and discipline children differently because you see how they receive information best or how they receive guidance or how correction needs to be. You might need to be more stern with one child and more gentle with another child because the child that you have to be more gentle with, that's enough to change their heart and to show them and expose their sin. But the bottom line is that ultimately and legally, you get to decide. And we had some kids that were kind of at times wondering if maybe school would be a better option. We sat down, we had those conversations. I told them about school. And to be honest, at the end of the day, we said, we're your parents and we have the bigger picture in mind and we're not going to put you back into school. So let's see how we can make this work. And we did make it work. And I can now say confidently, 3 kids, 2 of which are graduated and one that's almost graduated, none of them feel like they've missed anything by not spending more years in the public school system. And I hope this episode has really given you some food for thought and giving you some guidance and direction. If your homeschool just does not seem to be working for your family, can I encourage you to go check out your homeschool blueprint? Because that is where you're going to help make your homeschool work for you. Work for you right now in this season. And going through that process in your homeschool blueprint means that you have the tools in your back pocket to be able to adjust in the seasons ahead. And so if you have a child that's asking to go to public school, you might need to reevaluate your homeschool and how you're doing it for that child. If you have all your kids asking in public school, then you might need a bit of an overhaul. No matter where you find yourself on that spectrum, I want to encourage you to go over to your homeschool blueprint at littlebylittlehomeschool.com/blueprint and get all the details. Now is a great time to do that and get your homeschool. We'll revolutionize it or tweak it, whatever it is that your family needs before the next homeschool year starts. Thank you for listening, friend. I'd love to connect with you more. You can find social media links in the show notes and share this episode with a friend who could use a boost to her homeschool. See you back here real soon.